Alrighty, good afternoon or good evening even. We are back at RGB headquarters for Card Authority, episode 45. It's been a little while. Oh, the sound is working, which is good. Thank you everyone for joining us here on a Wednesday night. As always, I am joined by, some may say AJ2, some may say the voice of a nation. Adam Janke, how are you?
I'm very flattered to be here once again this evening, but seriously, I didn't realize how long it had been between episodes. I thought it had only been like 3 or 4 weeks, but apparently I was very wrong about that. So great to be back.
Yep.
So much has happened since our last episode.
Yeah.
Obviously putting little bits of content out here and there, but there's definitely a lot to talk about, and I can't wait to engage with some of the people, to be honest. That's what I'm really looking forward to tonight, is what people have to say and what they want to talk about as well. But some hot things going on at the moment, isn't there?
Absolutely. And konnichiwa to you, Wado. Yes, thank you, everyone piling into the stream now. And as Jenks just said, obviously we are here to answer questions from you guys. Who are the Jets? Black Rock Jets. Card Authority are wrong sponsor side. There we go.
Give a big shout out to the Black Rock Jets.
Yep.
Proudly sponsored by Card Authority. This is a local football club.
Yep.
And netball club, women's football as well.
Yep.
Netball, yep.
So big shout out to Ferg and Coop and all the guys down at Black Rock. We're very happy to be on board with them this year. They're struggling a little bit, but I'm not going to say carrying the weight of Card Authority is hurting them in a higher division, but hopefully we can push them through.
Absolutely.
G'day, Jax. G'day, Tyrone. G'day, Steve.
Corey, that's pretty odd.
All right, Corey.
Oh, there we go. Black Rock.
Oh, hello, Black Rock.
Black
Beautiful.
Rock crew is in there. There you go. You're getting full representation tonight. We're both coincidentally wearing the hoodies.
Yep.
They are very comfortable, I must say. Anyway, you know who doesn't play for Black Rock Football Club?
Who?
But who plays for the Collingwood Football Club?
Who?
Daicos' brother, Nick.
The guy.
The guy.
Yep.
Some would say he really is the guy.
Yep.
And isn't that one of the hot topics of footy? But more importantly, footy cards at the moment.
I wasn't going to get straight into Nick Daicos,
Right.
and already people are talking about the hot news that we have to announce that you are the new interim Richmond coach. So after, is it Andrew McWalter?
Who used to play for St Kilda.
Yeah.
So he came from the Mighty.
So when he fucks it up
Yeah.
on Saturday or Sunday, whatever it is, there's strong talks that you're taking off your Black Rock jumper and you're heading down.
As long as it doesn't clash with my coaching requirements down at St Kilda.
All right.
So then I'll do it though. For Dimmer.
Yeah,
You know, I'm happy to do it for Dimmer.
What about for me? I'm apparently the number one ticket holder.
That's true. And I saw, did you see Jack Rewalt last night?
I did.
Whatever that TV show was.
AFL 360.
That's the one. But he's really good. He actually speaks really well. Quite an intelligent guy. I must get it from his cousin, who was also a better footballer.
Just not as successful.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Shane, Luke, yes, all the guys at Black Rock. Thank you very much. So, Daicos, you jumped the gun. You always like to go away from my run sheet.
I'm sorry. Well, the problem is we don't actually have a run sheet, so that's probably part of the issue.
I do, though.
If you guys could see in front of me, it's one of those things. Yes, we're both just wearing underwear and our Black Rock jumpers.
Yeah, that's not a good
like most TV presenters as well.
Yep.
But if you could look down right now, I have no sheet of paper. I don't even have a texter.
Yep.
I've got a bottle of Powerade. Thanks very much for the sponsorship, Powerade.
And I've, of course, got my sponsorship from Coke Zero. All right, anyway, moving on. So, Daicos, obviously, he is the hottest player in the league at the moment. Some may say Dusty Fever in a black and white striped jumper. Have you ever seen, before we get onto the card aspect of it, have you ever seen a pressure on a young footballer in their second year that we're seeing now on Nick Daicos?
Well, it's really funny because it's almost like the pressure has carried through from the first year, right?
Yep.
So, you rewind the clock 6 months and everyone's talking about Nick Daicos. Look at the numbers he's racking up in season 2022. He's enormous. He's huge. And people are starting to talk about like, oh, well, the pressure's on that in 4 or 5 years' time, he's going to win a Brownlow medal.
Yep.
All of a sudden, you fast forward to 10 weeks into season 2023, and the guy, he went into the season with a huge amount of pressure. It's like he just brushed that off his back.
Yeah.
Eclipsed everything. And now it's just crazy, right? I don't know, like.
So do you think perhaps
his statistics are not, it's an anomaly, right?
So I pose this question to you, all right? Obviously, in the card world, we are obsessed with predictors and rookies and the next great
speculation.
Hope. Speculation.
Yeah.
Do you think because we are so focused on those things when it comes to cards that it's actually inflating the way we see Daicos? Or do you think the general public, like when you go down to local footy, are people talking about Nick Daicos the same way as they're talking about the community?
So they are. I definitely think there's probably a bit of that recency bias that's permanently stuck with people who collect cards because it's always it's on your Facebook feeds, it's being talked about, all that sort of stuff. But I think the same conversations which end up impacting the value or the interest and the demand in cards, they all stem from the same place. So therefore, it's a conversation in all different categories.
Yep.
So where we might talk about, well, Daicos is performing so well and how does that affect his cards? Other people are just talking about Daicos is performing so well he could win a Brownlow medal, or Daicos is performing so well he's going to win Collingwood a premiership. So I think it's still being discussed like a lot. And I think, I obviously have junior footy every week and all that sort of stuff. And, you hear about it from the Collingwood people, but you also hear about Daicos from the non-Collingwood people in the same way that I reckon, on a Sunday morning at junior footy, when Sam Walsh and Carlton, when they lifted the lid off prematurely.
Yep. For about 3 minutes.
You'd always hear people talking about, after Walsh won the Rising Star, they've got Walsh. Walsh will take them to a premiership. Walsh. You know what I mean? So there's a bit of it, but I'm sure we see more in the card world.
So is it a good thing for cards if Daicos wins?
Really interesting question. Before we get into that, though, I want to go back actually to the last question, because something I think I've left out there, which is really important, is conversations now are real technical around football and around sport. And I think a lot of it's to do with technology and access to information, because so many people are involved in fantasy leagues.
Sure.
Statistics are all over every television show, including match broadcasts and everything else. The direct result is people are much more knowledgeable about the specifics of what's going on in terms of player performance.
Sure.
Where, decades gone by, it may have been, this player played well and this player played shit.
Yep.
And you go, he did well, he was marking well, or he was kicking well, or he fluffed it because he was kicking badly. People don't even talk like that anymore. And now it's just like, this player was no good because his stats were this percentage or or he ranked at this level. He's a shit player because he was ranked here, with all that sort of stuff. So I think it's a lot more technical, and then that carries obviously across to cards in a massive way. Now,
I guess what I'm getting to is we obviously saw through the last couple of years, especially the COVID years, and as the card boom happened, Dusty fever was insane. Richmond were doing well. Dusty cards were crazy. Every release, the Dusty card was not only sought after by Richmond collectors, which is a big, strong Victorian club, but it also gave equity. So if you got a box and you had a Dusty card in it, instantly you knew you were able to swap that. Dusty has obviously declined a little bit ever since that fucking prick Mitch Robertson took his kidney. But with Nick Daicos winning the Brownlow, and also actually secondary, if Collingwood are actually a true flag contender and winner, but anyone can win games.
The point blank answer to your previous question,
is it good?
It's massive. It's actually huge. It's huge for footy cards. Seeing a player like this who's ultimately, he's a generational superstar. It's going to take something significant to happen to really railroad his career from this point. A lot of people brought up, well, it could be like Matt Rowell. Look what happened to Matt Rowell. Well, it hasn't happened to Daicos. Like it's Collingwood. It's the Daicos
biggest club.
Biggest club.
Yep.
The Daicos dynasty. Everything about it is massive. We've discussed it before. We talked about the what ifs. What could happen? Well, I think we're now actually seeing it unfold in front of our eyes. Like we're seeing it unfold in real time. The Dusty thing's really interesting because when Walsh started to pop through as well, you were seeing the comparison to, will Walsh get to similar levels as Dusty? Nick Daicos has the ability to exceed Dusty.
It
has the ability because you're knowledgeable. When did Chris Judd win a Brownlow in his career?
In his third year.
Okay, so if Nick Daicos wins a Brownlow and just happens to win a premiership
in his second
year of his career, so his forecast and trajectory is that we're basically going to a dynasty period, as we seem to do for teams now. They're hot for a few years. Hawthorn, Richmond, Geelong, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
What's to say that Daicos, with a bigger family name, an existing family name,
True.
and from the biggest club with the biggest membership base, and you could say, the most passionate supporters with the least amount of teeth.
Your words are
I'm
mine.
glad I slipped that in. What stops Nick Daicos not only just being the most collectible player for Collingwood, which in theory he already is now, he definitely is now. What stops it from being overall, though?
Well, I mean, Wade just posted
What
a really good question, which sort of pivots with this. If he wins the Brownlow, does the speculation continue? Because then no longer is it actually a speculation.
What's how many is he going to win? Is he going to be the greatest
Yeah.
Collingwood player of all time? Is he going to be the greatest AFL player of the modern times? Is he? And that's why I say, like, Dusty's achieved a lot. It takes a lot to
He's
get.
done a little bit more than a lot.
I know it takes a lot to get there, but if on paper Nick Daicos can get the same level of achievements as Dusty has on the park, then statistically, and just based on the maths involved and the number of supporters and all that sort of stuff,
Yeah,
he should be in higher demand in all aspects of it, and whether that's trading cards, merchandise, memorabilia, the brand of Nick Daicos.
and look, don't get me wrong. I think he is a sensational player, a generational player.
Yeah.
My counter to that is that what Dusty achieved, and Brooksy just mentioned there, 3 Norm Smith medals, good luck.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think Daicos has to go and win 3 Norms and a Brownlow and 3 flags to be the it and hot player in our world of trading cards.
Yeah.
I think if he wins a Brownlow and continues to be a very good player, regardless of winning Norm Smiths and stuff like that, he's going to be the new it factor person. And I imagine
he's already the it factor right now.
Yeah, but is it a fad or is it like, say he doesn't win the Brownlow? Let's say he doesn't win the Brownlow this year.
But winning the Brownlow now, see, it's almost like there's an expectation for him to win the Brownlow now, which is absurd because that expectation didn't exist 8 weeks ago or 10 weeks ago.
I'm more talking in relation of his cards, that there is this, it's being hung on a hook that if he wins this Brownlow this year, obviously his Brownlow booklets are going to be worth infinite. His DPSs are going to be worth more.
Yeah.
If he doesn't win, does that actually
devalue
does
everything?
does it hurt it?
I don't think it can't hurt his DPSs at all, and a booklet doesn't exist unless you actually win. We know the way Brownlows work. You bought one the other day. You're a good example. You went out. I saw you. I messaged you straight away. I'm like, dude, you just spent clicked off $600 on a Collingwood wild card. I'm like, what are you doing? And you're like, well, I collect booklets. And the reality is I'd rather just pay the money now to get the card
just in case
he wins. Because if he wins, I'm going to end up paying thousands for this thing. You know? So that's the reality of it.
So this is an interesting real world thing that we were talking about junior footy. Brooksy, our good friend Sean Brooksy Brooks, every kid at my kids' Auskick in Collingwood jumpers has 35 on their back.
And that's the demonstrable factor here. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's always a direct correlation between merchandise and footy cards.
Absolutely.
You know, and all aspects of it.
Yep.
So that's the thing. Like, you've got to remember, there's people already in the hobby, and a lot more will emerge, that just come to collect Nick Daicos.
Yep.
They just want Nick Daicos. Like, there was people that just came in for Scott Pendlebury.
Yep.
There was the Dane Swan crew. Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's true.
That's the thing. Like, it's it's interesting. And do you know what, Brooksy? That's a really good way to identify.
This is a
which
wise comment
players
from
are hot. It's
Glenn.
a really good
Glenn's
way to
just
do
made a very wise comment. Daicos will never have the impact that Dusty had. Probably true.
I don't know. We'll see. Look, and this is the thing. At this stage, as someone else said in the comments, there's a lot of what ifs, and there's a lot of what ifs about Nick Daicos. But all I know is that the numbers and the data around him as a player at this point in his career is enormous.
For sure.
And everyone should be really excited that we're seeing a generational superstar in the making here. And whether he wins a Brownlow this year or not, I would be pretty confident he'll win one in the future.
Great comment there by Andrew Worrell. The marketability of this kid adds to his infield exploits.
Yep.
And that's it. There was, I remember when Josh Daicos hit the scene, everyone's like, wow, this guy's great. And they're like,
no one talks about Josh Daicos.
No, but it's like, don't worry about Josh. His brother Nick, who's coming in 2 years, is even better.
But remember when Josh Daicos cards initially came out? that was the hottest thing for Collingwood at the time because
Yeah,
everyone
of
was thinking
course.
like, here we go, we got a Daicos kid here. He's going to be this huge player.
Yep.
And then his brother comes in and makes him look average.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
scary. It's scary
someone-
stuff.
someone-
Not as scary as Mitch Owens.
Pricey agreeing with you. Jinx hit the nail on the head. It's the Nick Daicos brand now. It's more than cards. Yeah. It's it's hard to argue. And look, I think that either way, now that Dusty is not the isn't the draw card. I mean, he's still a draw card, but not the draw card that he was. I think that we desperately wanted Walsh to be that person a couple of years ago. Walsh was going to take the next mantle.
Yeah.
But it looks like Daicos is well and truly surpassing all of them.
Agreed.
And I'd argue even if Daicos wins this year and then say Walsh has an amazing year next year, it's going to be pretty hard to chase down Daicos.
Yeah. What did he say? Same path as Judd. Went around there.
Got some good comments here.
I would also think someone like Daicos as well. He'll be a one-club player due to his family and the family brand and the family name. Even though we're going into more,
I think things are changing though.
I agree that they're changing, but I feel like for him, that no matter how many premierships they could end up winning here, I hate to say it. I'm a St Kilda supporter. The last team I want to see win premierships is Collingwood.
Of course.
But who this year? And yes, it's still early in the season. Who can take on that team right now? Like actually, and when it comes down to it in finals pressure, hard-hitting football, I would love to say my team, but I just don't see how we could contend right now against like a full-strength Collingwood team. And again, it's if Daicos is winning the votes week by week in the home and away season, enough to be able to be in contention for the Brownlow medal, well, should they make the grand final, win a premiership, surely he's probably in the top 2 or 3 favourites for the Norm Smith before the game.
Oh, yeah, he's
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So if the opportunities arise for this kid, the outcome will be there. Like the successful outcome will be there. It's just about getting to that point.
So let me pose this question to you, and I'm trying to keep this connected to cards. Okay, say Nick Daicos for whatever reason, all right, was at St Kilda.
Yeah.
Okay, doing the same thing on field that he's doing at Collingwood. That was going to be my question.
It's not the same.
You know, racking up all these votes.
The base is completely different in trading cards. Like it's completely different, but also in the real world in terms of like commercial editorial and commercial advertising and marketing and essentially clickbait and what people are interested in. Collingwood is much bigger. The membership base is much bigger. And, you know, we talked.
But what about on a card basis?
Yeah, so very early on, we've talked about in Card Authority, in terms of trading cards, there is a direct correlation between your membership base and your team's on-field performance and the demand for trading cards and therefore the value of what those trading cards are.
Sure.
So the smaller the team's membership, the lower the possibility of collectors there are. Are there some that punch above their weight? Sure. Look at Port Adelaide.
Port Adelaide's a great example.
But what's happening there is the on-field performance is outperforming the membership level in terms of what that creates of transitional people into trading cards. But St Kilda, unfortunately, just, you know, the team membership is never going to be substantially more than what it currently is. Even if they win a premiership, it'll only still go up marginally. Do you know what I mean? The collector base is probably at a peak for what I've seen during my time of cards. There's more St Kilda collectors than there's ever been before. The cards are in higher demand than they've ever been for the most part, and they're commanding the highest prices they are. I am only able to purchase and collect a small percentage, a fraction of what I have in sort of pre-2021 because there's so many other collectors around as well. You know what I mean? So it's all reflected. But yeah, the Collingwood, Richmond have always been powerhouses in trading cards, which is a direct result of the membership base. Then you add in a little bit of success and it changes everything. You know, Essendon were historically big in cards, haven't been over the last period, you know, prior to the last couple of years. They'd really fallen off. Membership was there, on-field performance wasn't there. All of a sudden, on-field performance started to increase, 18 months ago? Interest in their cards started to increase. But we're seeing it's like it can't get a stranglehold on the market. Do you know what I mean? Because every time it's getting up and going, they drop the ball on the field. You know
and I think also with, you know, without beating an old drum, the Essendon off-field saga that happened 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was damaging to the brand.
But it disenfranchised supporters, and then they're not motivated to go out and collect cards.
Yeah, and make no mistake, like people have to be able to, make the connection between membership base and everything else that happens. And trading cards are just one aspect. But when your membership base is big, your team is hot, you sell more merchandise, you sell more memorabilia, you sell more charitable shit, you sell more. Come and listen to so and so speak at the local pub gigs, like all of it. It's all hot. When your team's doing shit, well, no one wants to go. They're not interested. Yeah.
So let's pull this back to cards for a second. And I saw a comment before from Vic Blaze, and a little bit of self-interest there from that comment, Vic, I noticed. I'll see if I can actually scroll up and put it up. But here we go. Evening. Oh, that's what I was going to use the mouse left-handed. Evening, gents. What do you think the jumper number DPS will be worth in 10 years?
I feel like we've talked about this last year.
And let me just point out that Vic, we know Vic, he's a customer of ours at RGV, and ripping bloke who has done an amazing job securing
he's got
the copper and the gold jumper numbers, which is a fantastic achievement. Price-wise, I think, I'll give you my 2 cents before your view. There is no ceiling on what this stuff can be worth to a collector in 10 years' time, based on all the things that we just talked about. What he achieves, what Collingwood achieves, is it through a golden era of premierships? Is the collector base for cards increased? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to put an actual number on it, but in my opinion, there's no reason why those cards can't be worth a substantial amount of money down the track if he does become the generational player that we think.
Yeah. Okay. So my answer to it, and I'm just going to look at it from the platinum basis.
Yep.
And I know, obviously, Vic, I'm aware that you've got the copper and the gold variation of that card. I don't want to comment on what I think the values of those particular cards are, because I don't want to sort of impact it.
Well, it's impossible to put it.
Yeah. But I think the platinum one, and we did talk about this. I can't remember if we talked about it with the rookies numbered to 25. We talked about it with the DPS. The jumper number, pending his jumper never changes, which it's not. He's got it for life, basically.
Yep.
Pending he becomes this superstar, wins 1 or 2 Brownlows, premierships, Norm Smiths, all that. I think the platinum jumper number card in 5 to 10 years' time, or if the hobby just stayed the same and stayed stagnant, basically, with the same participation rate or the same growth, we'll call it the same growth outlook, okay? So the same year-on-year compounding growth, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
I don't see how the DPS jumper number of the shortest print variation, the platinum, people are going to think I'm crazy, but I don't see why that isn't a $10,000 card. I don't see why that is,
because it was up for 2.5, wasn't it, when it appeared?
Was it? I didn't even
was
know.
it the 01?
I don't even.
Either way, I think it was,
because I've got to look at, like, the perspective I look at it from is, what is the importance of that card amongst all other Collingwood cards for all Collingwood collectors? Would the jumper number DPS of the most successful player from a club in modern times, again, this is pending he becomes that guy, pending the guy becomes the guy, and then I look at it and I say, okay, well, to me, if I was a Collingwood person and I was not just a Collingwood person, but also a card collector or a memorabilia collector or whatever it may be, well, that would be the number one chase card. That would be the ultimate card to have for Collingwood from the modern era, right? I'd love to hear from a Collingwood fan to see what they think, and I'm very sorry for saying that I think the card's going to be worth that much, but I don't see why it's not. We obviously have a card business. We know the prices of what cards have been hitting. We have done multiple sales on single cards above $10,000 for AFL. Why is this card dissimilar to those? Is it because it's not on 130-point stock? Well, I don't know if that matters, because does the first rookie signature card for this player, does that outweigh the physical nature of the stock and the release that it came from? Does it matter that it's from Series 2 and not Supremacy? Do you know what I mean?
Okay, so Byrne made a good question here, a good point. what's the Dusty equivalent card worth at the moment? So
there isn't one. That's the problem.
There is.
But it's numbered to 400.
Okay, but still, forget about the numbering.
Yeah.
His jumper number rookie card, who have arguably
problem is his number when the rookie card was released is a different jumper number.
But he writes 36 on it.
On the card, exactly. So what would you prefer? Would you prefer?
Well, I said no to the number 4.
So that's the thing. So would you prefer the 36
Absolutely.
over the 4? But that's the thing. See, to me, it makes a huge difference if they don't follow that number throughout their career. If the number changes,
really,
yeah, I think it's just I don't know why. Maybe it's just a psychological thing for me. But I think it's
okay. So
like I would want the card in the number that the player is in.
Yeah.
But then it just like throws me off that moving forward it's no longer the same.
Okay,
number.
but say the number 36. Take away that little that point of what you're saying.
Yeah.
If the Dusty number 36 went up on eBay right now for $10,000,
it's look, and that's the thing. Like,
does it just get snap sold?
I don't know. You're the Richmond person. I don't know how do if that card. If you pulled your entire collection out, put it all in front of you, and then had that card sitting up on the TV screen,
that's some pretty nice.
Had the card sitting up on the screen above you.
Yeah.
Would you literally trade any card in your entire collection for that one card? Would you trade a Dusty Norm Smith for that card?
I've got the jumper number.
Okay, so what's bigger, the Dusty Norm Smith jumper number or the Dusty DPS jumper number? What's more important?
I wouldn't swap it, but I would pay $10K for it.
There you go. If you had a cabinet and all your cards are on display, what's got a bigger story to it? What would you spend more time if your cards are in a museum and you had to curate and walk them through and you walk these people
That's
through?
That's a good question.
And you walk these people through?
Yeah.
Where does the conversation go for longer? Is that, okay, what this card is here, this is his first ever card released. There was an official rookie card, his drafted card, and it's been signed by him. It's limited to this quantity. It was produced in this year. At the time this was done, he was never projected to be a superstar of the game, blah, 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 blah. He ended up becoming it. So I don't know. It's you can answer it, not me. I don't know.
I mean, I think I buy it for $10,000.
Okay, big call.
Would I buy it for $20,000? Probably not.
Big call.
But I tell you, it's
big dollars being thrown around here, folks.
But I tell you, it's not a snap no.
Yeah, but that's I can see. Yeah.
But I'd also, when you were saying about sort of like, for example, the Norm Smith, which I do have the jump number of, I wouldn't sell that for $10,000.
No. Yeah, that's right.
So
yeah,
so it's really hard to price it. But then it gets to this situation, which we've talked about all the time, is that there is a ceiling on what cards can be bought for. There isn't that many people. No, I do not know the location of it, Mitch, but I'm sure someone's going to pop their head up with it sometime in the next couple of days after the comments I just made. But we can say that the Daicos is worth 10,000 or 20,000 or whatever the number is.
Yeah.
How many people are there that can actually afford to buy that car?
And this is what we talk about, but that's, maybe we're going to go, not that we have a script, but maybe this takes the conversation in an interesting direction.
I like it.
And again, we've talked about it before, but the game has changed even in the last 12 months, whereby we always talk about, you value cards and cards sell at certain prices. People use comps to determine the current market value for a card. Absolutely fine, right? But then it gets to a point where you have these super high-end or really big cards, which you think should be worth $10,000, but you can't see a sale above $5,000 because as the price of the card gets higher and higher, the amount of people that exist with the money and the willingness to pay that amount of money decreases. So the market gets smaller and smaller. What's really interesting, though, is at each price category, at each price point, the market's getting bigger and bigger. So rather than there being one or two people prepared to spend $10,000 on a single card now, there's actually 12 people that have that. And I'm just using random figures here as examples, but there's 12 people that now would be prepared to not say snap no to a card like that anymore and consider purchasing it.
Well, it's a different band of collector.
But that's what I mean. But that carries all the way through because look at the amount of people now executing sales at $500 to $1,000. It's a daily occurrence. Whereas like even, as close as 2017, 2018, even 2019 to an extent, someone buying a car for $500 or $1,000 was once a year. You would do it once a year. Now you do it more than once a release, basically. And it's not happening. Yep. It's not just like, oh, well, I'm a Saints collector and I'm so cool because I'm the only Saints collector who buys the high-end cards. It's now, I'm a Saints collector. I'm in a chat group of 30 Saints collectors, and 26 out of those 30 are all looking for the same high-end cards. They all want it too, and they're all prepared to buy it. So the market's completely shifting and it's changing. And people talk about, well, capitulation and interest rates and economic impact and all this shit. And we've talked about it endlessly and stuff. But at the end of the day, the data indicates otherwise. And as much as you can try and emotionally feel that it's going down, it's going down, it's going down, well, all you need to do is turn on your Facebook and you need to see that there was more posts today than there were yesterday on every page. There's more people now than there were. There's more newbies. Every time you see make an offer, what's it worth, what's this, what's that, and you're like, oh, I see more and more of this every day. There's more and more of this. Well, that's just a reflection. There's more and more people coming in. For every person that doesn't know how to do things, there would be equally a person that does know or has educated themselves. Do you know what I mean? It's just going up.
I remember there was a clear moment, and I'm sidestepping a little bit here. When Supremacy 2021 came out, I remember you and I sat here with the checklist.
Yeah.
We looked at the booklets, and we're like, these are all going to be about $2,000.
Yeah.
And we're like, no one can really afford to spend over $2,000 or $3,000. It's going to hit a ceiling.
Yeah, that was for the nut ones, the big ones.
Yeah, the number 25. Number 25.
Yeah, but for good teams and good players.
No, but in general, we're like $2,000. That's it.
Yeah.
And then Supremacy came out, and whack.
Yeah.
Booklets were selling for $2,500,
well, I think $3,000 opened at like $3,500, $4,000, stuff like that.
And suddenly there were all these booklets being sold with 2s, 3s, 4s in front of them.
Yeah.
And it created this whole new price ceiling, which we'd never seen before. Yeah. And it feels like it hasn't stopped since then.
So we probably take it for granted. We're inside of this bubble a little bit as well because we're at the coalface of it. So we see these transactions actually going through.
Yep.
And we see the amount of them going through.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit different. But again, like people should be able to recognize increase in participation as reflected across, you can see it in social media, you can see it on eBay, means more pressure on cards. And
look,
people can cherry pick different things and different values, and this card sold for a low price and then this card sold for a high price, whatever it is. But when you take it all and you put all the data together and you run the equation on averages, the AFL market, and this is very specific to AFL cards, continues to grow and continues to outperform all the other categories.
Absolutely. And you said that a few times. And Bern Roshman, he's a good friend of RGV, and we've, Bern's about your age, but, he's a bit younger than me. Sure. No way 20 years ago I thought I would pay $1,000 for a box of AFL, so I can see why cards are worth more today. And that is a perfect example of the older generation or the older card collecting where you're buying boxes for a couple of $100, a big hit. I remember the first big Dusty card I bought was $900.
And I remember when you bought it, I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. Who pays $900 for a card? What the hell's wrong with you? Because that was the time I was getting St Kilda captain signatures for $300.
Yeah.
I'm just like, you're a madman. What are you doing?
And look where it's at now.
Yeah.
$1,000 transaction, as you stated before.
$200.
Yeah. But as you said, $1,000 transaction now is nothing. It happens all the time.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, again, we've talked about it before as well, the time warp. It's like AFL cards got stuck in a 20-year time warp, basically, like a freeze, basically, where, you had these Hall of Fame legend signatures and then you had these captain signatures come out in the late 90s, early 2000s. And when they came out, they were $800 to $1,200 of the money at that point in time.
Yeah.
Then they spent 20 years being valued the same, if not less. A lot of them went down in value. And only in the last 3-4 years have they've not only come up. And I think the great example for that, and absolutely no offense here to Card Zone or Steve Wang at all, I'm just using it as an example, is when I first came back into cards really heavily in 2018, and I was going to eBay, the recurring piece of advice you would get off people is, if you see a card listed on the eBay account Card Showcase, which was CardZone's eBay account, you'll be able to purchase the card somewhere else for between 25 and 50% of the list price.
Yep.
That's CardZone. He lists at the price that he thinks they're worth, and he won't move on the price, and that's that. I swear to God, I remember 18 months, almost now 2 years ago, probably, having conversations with multiple people going, isn't it fucking crazy how card prices have now eclipsed the cards on the Card Showcase eBay account? And as a result, there's all these cards that I refused to purchase for years and years earlier that I've now gone back and clicked them all off because I'm worried that once the ones on his account are gone, I'll never see them again.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what happens. So we've seen cards haven't just gone up and they haven't just grown. They've caught up.
Yeah.
They've caught up, and there's still plenty to go. I think there's plenty of growth to go, and cards should be like other things, and they should go with the with inflation as it progresses into the future as well. And I would like to think what you invest in now in terms of trading cards, as long as it's not speculative and as long as that doesn't fall off dramatically, should have an increased value in the future, because there should be more people in the future that want that particular item just based on head of population.
And we talk about this all the time. We've been banging this drum for at least 12 months that people are talking about the doom and gloom in cards, but the reality is there are more people involved in trading cards than there ever have been. We see the names across eBay. We see the names across Good Vibes. We see the names. You see SEC is full.
Yeah.
You see all these things that there are more people spending $50 to $100 a week on cards than there were 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Absolutely.
And so the pure volume of people, cool, there's dips and there's ebbs and flows of prices.
There's more people, and each person for person spending more money.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
Yep.
There's more and more and more and more. And again, people keep talking about economic downturn, watch what it's going to do to cards, all this sort of stuff. I swear I've been hearing that same rhetoric for 2 years. Hasn't materialized yet. Will it? Maybe. We'll see. It would have already, I would have thought. Let's see what happens. We're in Australia.
Yep.
We're very insulated from a lot of what goes on with other things. Yes, international sports cards are down in a lot of categories, but they're still like 100x where they were pre-pandemic.
Yep.
So they've built a whole new floor. It's higher highs and higher lows. You know what I mean? Is probably the way to look at it.
All right, so let's move on to Daicos. Yeah, so I was going to switch to, I don't know if that's going to display on the screen, but let's talk a little bit about, obviously everyone is waiting at the moment with absolutely bated breath about what the next release is going to be. As people were fully aware, normally Select would release Prestige, which is a 1.5 release, which happens after Footy Stars, before Series 2. They announced very early on that there wasn't going to be a Prestige this year. That's normally in May. Here we are at the end of May, and we are all, let's say, itchy for a new release.
Yeah.
There's lots of speculation about what's coming, and Vic Blaze, who has actually posted this comment here, I hope it's beautiful to work. On another note, do you guys think that the May release of Virtuosos and pending release of Green Essentials and signed Virtuosos are Select's Series 2 release?
So, firstly, really, really good question.
Yep.
Good observation.
Yep.
A lot of relevance, and I like the thinking outside the square a bit.
Yeah.
Vic Blaze, for your excellent question here before we answer it, you're going to win yourself a free box of Footy Stars. There you go, Vic. You've won yourself a free box of Footy Stars, courtesy of Card Authority. And AJ doesn't know this yet, so I'll just say it now. This is something I am going to introduce moving forward for people.
Giving shit away.
Yeah, we're going to give a bit of stuff away, I think, throughout the next few episodes for people that are contributing really well in terms of the commentary section and the good hard-hitting questions. I'd definitely like to encourage that.
How about answering the question?
Yeah. So, question, again, on another note, do you guys think that the May release of Virtuosos and pending release of Green Essentials and signed Virtuosos a Select Series 2 release? Okay, so what Vic is talking about, there's obviously the instant win cards from Footy Stars.
Which I think Vic bought a few of.
Yeah, Vic definitely bought a few of those cards. people didn't know what the instant wins were going to be. All we knew was that they became a one in 3 case hit. So they went from being a box hit to a super rare case hit, which was indicative that they would redeem some pretty good prizes.
Yep.
Select then came out and redeemed the prizes. Prior to the redemption of the prizes, the cards were selling for like $100, $150. As soon as Select announced what it was, everyone did the maths on it, worked out that the shittest prizes were still worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Yep.
Worth into the thousands of dollars, technically boxes of supremacy, etc., etc.
Yep.
As a result, the price hiked to I think about $350.
Vic will be able to tell us what the
so
going rate is.
We'll call it around $300 to $400 to buy those instant win cards. Yep. Now, what's happened is everyone sent in their instant win codes and whatever, and people have started to receive the cards back.
Yep.
So Vic's questions relating to, is it becoming another release because people are getting the cards now? And that, I suppose, on the basis that you receive the cards, you're either going to keep, sell, or trade them.
Yep.
So does it create the level of interaction that there is around a Series 2 release? I don't think that's the case, Vic.
I would say almost definitely no.
Yeah, I don't think it's the case. I actually think it's probably worked out really well in terms of a gap filler. I feel like we have been getting hammered for already 4 or 5 weeks from customers, from friends, from colleagues, from collectors, from everyone in the community.
Yep.
When is the next release coming? When's the next release coming? Do you guys have any information? What's the next release? When's the next release? When's the next release?
So are you going to announce it today, James?
So I can.
You won't select. Tell everyone.
I can officially announce to you right now, folks, that I have no information. Unfortunately, I don't know anything about a new release, but we can definitely start to speculate.
Yeah, let's straighten up for a second. So, traditionally, there was always a Series 2 release, which has the DPSs, big number to 40 hits, signatures, all that kind of stuff, which is normally released late July, early August.
It says even that early. I reckon it's released.
It's August. Yeah.
I feel like it's coming close to the finals is when it's released, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Because normally Series 2 used to be where they had premiership predictors, and your premiership predictor was live at the point of release.
Yeah. Okay. So Series 2, it would be a fair assumption that if they're going to do a release in the next month, let's say, it's not going to be Series 2. And I have a little bit of information of why I don't think it is.
Yeah.
So we obviously speak to a few different people in Clubland.
Right.
I can tell you right now, no DPS cards have been signed.
Okay.
So normally I get a tip off from a few people that DPS has been signed at the club. And while we're adding on that, no supremacy signatures have been signed.
So I've noticed that I've observed.
Yeah.
Normally you see, the managers and shit like that. Was it Paul Connors that's the recurring?
Let's not throw anyone.
Whatever it was. There was the one on Instagram and people kept resharing it from the previous 2 supremacies. We've always seen supremacy leaks. The other interesting thing is, from my perspective, is either people hate me more now than they used to, or that people just don't know. But I'm getting no messages of, have you seen this? Or have you heard about this player's signature? Have you heard about this booklet? Have you heard about this card?
Yep.
So what you're saying about the DPS, I don't see why they would release. There's no reason to release a Series 2 early. The supremacy thing is really interesting in itself, because that we know that product gets created so far in advance.
Yep.
And if we can compare to 2021, we're already getting leaks at this stage.
Yep.
So I definitely feel like something could be amiss there.
Well, so there was someone just saw a comment up, saw it pop on my phone. Maybe everything's a redemption now. Look, Steve, I know we reached out to Select and asked them a couple of months ago about the bigger level cards, of why they're moving more of a redemption process.
Yeah.
And Select were very clear to say that due to the high value of these cards, quality control, cards get packed in China in a processing. So the cards get made, it gets sent to Australia, the people sign it, they then send it back to China, it gets put in packs, and it comes over on a boat to Australia. They have made a very clear decision that they are trying to improve quality control. And we've talked about the Optimum dual sigs and things like that. And there is definitely a motion towards the bigger cards being redemptions.
Yeah.
But DPSs are something in such a key part of the release that unless there's a problem in quality control, DPSs will stay in the release side.
And I feel like overall, the DPSs from the last 2 runs, the replacements would have been minimal compared to what they've had to replace in terms of percentage of dual Optimum SIGs and stuff like that from
Yep.
previous years. So I think they've probably worked out a really good process there to have nailed that side of things. I did read someone's comment saying they're shattered that Prestige didn't come. So that's the other part of this equation is Prestige. So what normally happens is you have Series 1 Footy Stars.
Yep.
Then this is the model from the last few years. Then you would have a 1.5 release, so not a true Series 2 release, but still a hobby hybrid product, which was Prestige. They announced when they released Footy Stars Jumbo, they announced there was not Jumbo, Footy Stars Hobby.
Yep.
They announced that they were essentially had amalgamated Prestige into it, and we've seen that actually happen with the Platinum predictors and stuff going into that release. So I think they've done a tremendous job with Footy Stars in the end. Like to look at it in hindsight, they've done a tremendous job. The chase was possible. Lots of people team setting it, lots of team collectors back in again from this release, which is really good after what they did in the previous year to butcher it a bit.
Yep.
We've now seen at that 140 price point or whatever it is, which what Prestige used to be, but we've now seen the Footy Stars Hobby plus the inclusion of obviously the Platinums and everything. So there's good value there. They said they're not doing Prestige. We don't think Series 2 is going to be coming till later in the year. Supremacy, I just don't even know about the fact that we haven't seen any leakage yet on Supremacy. But the market's hungry. The people at Select aren't stupid. They know what they're doing. They know how to track the market trends. They can look at things like what we're doing to get a good idea of that in simple terms.
I mean, you're sitting right here.
Yeah, but in simple terms, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand what's taking place with the AFL trading card market.
Well, surely it's going to be something.
There has to be a release. If there's no release in the next, 4 to 8 weeks, then they've really probably, not only have they missed an opportunity, but it's actually going to have a detrimental impact on the market, I think, because for the last 4 weeks already, they're done with Footy Stars. Sets completed.
People want new things.
People got into it and did it fast.
Yep.
Either they did it fast or they're waiting until after the season to get their predictors finished off and all the other inserts are attainable. So I suppose it begs the question is, what should we expect now? Look, I'm convinced there's a release. I've heard nothing. And normally, if there was a release in 4 weeks, you and I would have started to see movements or whispers.
And as we've publicly said,
it's weird.
We have a good relationship with Select. We normally get a briefing, maybe a week or so before everyone knows, just so we can help promote it and talk about it. We've had no whispers.
Nothing.
So,
but I just can't. I don't know. My expectation and my assumption is something has to be coming.
I agree too.
Whatever it is has to be substantially better than what Prestige is. Yeah, because Prestige is already in.
It feels like it's a Brilliance or a rookie-related release.
What do you do that doesn't impact or impede on a Series 2?
Oh, so that maybe hurts Rookie. That's why you don't do Rookie.
Are they going to drop Brilliance in 4 or 6 weeks' time? Do they actually release Brilliance?
Well, they did bring Brilliance earlier last year from memory. That's right.
Brilliance last year became before Series 2.
Yeah. They did it after Prestige. Or is it something new?
Well, that's the other question.
Because I feel
what do you think if they do Brilliance again? What's your thoughts?
I thought Brilliance was a bit tired. Like I thought the first release was amazing. The second Brilliance was good. I thought the Dual Sigs were a nice addition.
Thinking as well, Brilliance leapfrogged. So they had Brilliance in the years that there wasn't Supremacy.
Yeah.
So it was a 2x2 product.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys on the stream, what do you think? I think that there is obviously, Rookie. I see Martin Davis just mentioned Rookie. I don't think they'll do Future Force. I'm certainly not a supporter of that. I hate that stuff, Jenks. But I think that they won't do anything to damage the DPSs in Series 2.
Yeah. Yeah, so the DPSs are the first, and the rookies. It's more the rookies from Series 2 come out prior to the Supremacy rookies. That's an interesting
Correct. One. So that's my gut feel.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I actually wonder
what could be coming. I wonder. Anyone got any ideas? What would you want to see? What would excite people?
Well, premium release for sure.
Yeah.
And selfishly, we're breakers.
Yeah.
We want to see a short amount of cards in a premium release that people get excited over.
So knowing that they're going, Select has been going down the route of ultra premium products like what you find in US sports cards in basketball and also baseball and hockey and NFL and stuff. We've seen the rookie things. We've seen the Brilliance. 180 point, cased, framed, all that sort of stuff. You know, what can actually be done?
Could it be a National Treasures kind of product?
So like more
But we
volume.
probably would have heard something about signatures.
I don't know. You know, does a 1-card product, for example, if it is a Brilliance or a Supremacy Rookie style thing, does a 1-card or a 2-card or a 4-card product appease the market?
Absolutely.
But does it? Or does it only last a week?
If they brought out something like a hybrid of Brilliance, but say in 4 cards, that would excite me a lot. And I think that would give a huge amount of value to SEC, general buyers, and the break community.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the other thing we need to consider now is selectors lock themselves into this situation where they need to produce something that always has to have minimum a couple of thousand units available because of SEC.
Yep.
You know, they're pre-committed to 1,000 units. And I still don't see a situation where a major release could only be for SEC. There always needs to be an element of public.
Oh no.
There always needs to be an element of public.
And I just don't think the numbers would work.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, we're not going to suddenly go to print runs of 10 or 20 cards.
Yeah.
Which then bring those boxes down. So once you start having cards numbered to 30, 40, etc., when you multiply it out, you're always going to land on sort of the 3,000 box range, something like that.
Yeah. Look, I'm just reading through some of the comments at the moment. Sammy Ma, Brilliance, what players though?
See, Sammy, that's
actually, probably bang on as well.
Let me put that on the
screen. The more I'm reading the comments, the more it's actually making me think there isn't a Brilliance coming. It makes no sense that there.
Let me read this because Sammy Ma, this is a great point. Brilliance. What players though? Surely there needs to be a change on which players go on the cards, which new players will be included, and you know, instead of going through what players we include, you're right. If you've already got the key superstars covered on the previous 2 Brilliances, how do you do it again? Because you lose the collectability and the desirability. Like you can't do another Dusty Gold or a Dusty Black.
Yeah.
So it almost needs to be something fresh. Oh, it's actually exciting though. I think about it.
Something's got to be coming though.
Yeah.
And you know what? If it isn't Select, the pressure's on. You don't have much time. Get your shit together.
James, read the comments. Yeah. Fucking do something.
All right. Hopefully, look, again, I think reality or common sense is that there must be a release coming.
Yeah, I agree.
I have no idea what it's going to be. Hopefully, it's something spectacular. And hopefully it's something new and fresh, to be honest.
Yep.
I'd really like to see something different, something fresh.
Okay, so let's put away our speculation of what's coming. What are they going to do for Series 2?
Well, you know.
But they can't do Optimum again.
No, but how many times have we talked about this, though? So we've talked about they like to do things in 2. You and I both agree that Optimum is done and dusted. If they try to do Optimum again, they're going to run into a problem because the
they've leveled up as well so many times.
The leap from the first Optimum to Optimum 2 was so substantial. What the hell do you do now? And then you've also, you know, you want products to increase. I was actually chatting with someone about this yesterday. We were having a conversation about this yesterday where he gave me a different perspective. He was like, and we were talking because I actually hit someone up who normally gets really good information or is normally quite on the money with their speculation. I'm like, hey, have you heard anything? I've heard nothing about any
Lots of
releases.
People saying legacy though. Legacy.
Well, you know, legacy. I haven't heard anything about any releases, whatever. And he was like, what about if Supremacy Rookie drops, but a beefed up version of it? And I was like, well, what do you mean by that? And he goes, imagine a Supremacy Rookie where all of a sudden there's a short print SIG variation. So you'd have this, let's say the number to 25 non-signed, number to 25 signed, and that they're getting the SIGs done at the same time as the DPSs because it's going to be the same players who have to sign DPSs who would sign rookie cards, get it done at the same time. And then it was something like increase the number to 70s to 90 or 99 or whatever it is. And Select does a bigger print run, can charge more for it, and the cards are more exciting. And I was like, but I thought to me, my initial response was, yeah, but the downside to that is if you make something so much better than what it's been previously, you devalue the perceived value of what's there goes down. Because does it become a situation where does a number to 25 signed rookie, for example, do people go, okay, well, the non-signed version is still going to be worth 400 or 500, so the signed version is going to be worth 1,500? Or do they go, well, the signed version is going to be worth 800, and now the non-signed version should only be worth 200? And that's my concern, is that it actually goes the other way, and it starts to devalue things. So where this conversation connects is that with Optimum, if they were to do Optimum again, what could you do to increase the product offering, the value offering? And I think it's at a point that whatever you did is going to decrease the value of the previous ones.
Yeah, and that's why fundamentally I think SIGs in Supremacy Rookie won't work, because it devalues the 25s.
Yeah.
And also it takes away the allure of the platinum number to 40s.
Yeah.
So, look,
I think that would look amazing signed.
Of course.
Those 130 point cards would be amazing signed.
Yeah, Aiden just basically said
but
the exact same thing.
I think my concern would be that it devalues it. They already modified rookie. I don't think it should really be modified any further before it starts to dilute itself, basically.
Yeah, and we've talked about Supremacy Rookie, at ends, about how this is a 5-year product.
Yeah.
We're not going to see the true value of Supremacy Rookie for literally 4 or 5 years. And funny enough, I got a call from someone today who was saying to me they cannot find a certain Richmond Supremacy Rookie.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a couple of them, but they can't find one anywhere.
No, a lot of them.
2 years ago, this player no one wanted.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, but number 21. So imagine these SIGs now come in. It kind of puts away the 2 years of good work that have been built with Supremacy Rookie and sort of stops that aging process of it.
Yeah. Interesting one from Blazer. He said with a 300 game case, it's a bit of a flop in terms of sales demand. I don't think so.
No, I wouldn't say so.
I think the pricing's probably where it should be.
It came out hot.
Vic, just to give you a bit of perspective on this, and all I can talk from is like the St Kilda ones. The Nick Rewald, Barry Breen, Casey cards, they were available for like $300 to $500 for years.
Yep.
The Nick Rewald ones now are more, I think, in the 500 to 800 range. I haven't looked for a long time.
I don't see many of them though.
But part of the reason they're probably in that range is because I've got quite a few of them as well.
Yep.
That I picked up at the better price points. You know what I mean? And that's that. But I think what those case SIGs are generally what? So the new ones are 400 to 800.
Yeah. But they came out hot. They came out at $800, $1,000,
which they get back to eventually.
Of course,
once they dry up.
Again, they're going to dry up.
Yeah, that's right.
Number to 50, and people. The crop, I would say, weren't a super sexy crop, but there's going to be a time where, using the Richmond example, you're just not going to be able to find a Shane Edwards one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or you're not going to be able to find a Tom Hawkins one, or, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
They will dry up really quickly.
Yeah.
So I certainly wouldn't say they're a flop. If they weren't selling for $100 or $200, probably.
Yeah.
But, they're a $500+ card for all of them across the board.
Yeah.
And they're only going to go in one direction.
Agree.
Yep.
Just looking back, I saw a comment before. I don't know if you saw it. It'll be way up there. Don't even bother finding it.
You got to tell me earlier.
It was someone, when we were talking about the Daicos stuff, someone's like, imagine there was a triple like the Daicos Generation Next.
I did see Wade's comment about that.
Was it Wade? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's the card everyone wants.
We're talking about high-end SIGs like case card SIGs and stuff like that.
What's it worth?
Mate, like...
What are they numbered to? 50, 60?
Let's look at it like this. You have the Ablett Generation Next, which came in the, I think, top 10 of our hottest 100.
Yep. Top 3.
One of the most desirable cards, not just for Geelong people. Everyone loves that card. Huge card.
I want one.
Couple of $1,000+ these days.
More, 3,000.
Yeah, I remember when that was a $700 card. But anyway, you had the Shaw Triple SIG,
which was a flop.
Collingwood GWS flop.
Yep. The Kennedy one.
Collingwood things sort of saved a little bit. The Kennedy one, again, having the Hawthorn aspect was strong, the Sydney side of it.
But not having Kennedy Senior
hurt it, so that wasn't a thing. Daicos. Is the Daicos triple bigger than the Ablett double?
Absolutely.
It's bigger, right?
Oh.
Collingwood, because Collingwood's bigger, but
short term, yes.
The non-Collingwood people love Gaz.
Yeah.
Non-Collingwood people love the Ablets, and that makes up a portion of the buyer's market of that card.
Yeah, okay.
It's pretty interesting though, right?
Well, someone just said, Donny Narmgood, jumper numbered Daicos Triple Gen SIG going for 20K surely. I mean, 20K might be a stretch, Shit.
Jeez, I feel like,
that's a big card.
I feel like Vic Blaze just hits that out of a packet. He runs so good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. Look, I think it would be silly for us not to expect that at some point in the next 5 years, we see a triple C Daicos card. Like, surely that Generation Next thing is there. Surely they exploit that. And that gets done.
There's low-hanging fruit and there's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And that is there.
Okay.
And I actually saw a comment earlier on too about someone said, I've lost it now. Anyway, it'll come back to me. I thought about it as I was saying it, and then I just completely lost it. No, that's right. Someone said, "Is there going to be a Buddy 1000 goal kicking card?"
Yeah.
Now, again, we don't know anything if Supremacy is even coming back. If Supremacy came back, surely that's a Supremacy card.
You would think that has to be.
That's just a perfect.
And you know
card.
what? You would think that even if there is no Supremacy, there'll be some other super high-end product.
Yeah,
that will celebrate Buddy's 1000th.
Yeah.
Just like there should be a St Kilda 150th anniversary product.
Why?
Because they do it for the other clubs.
What? So they're just basically making a release just for you?
Yeah, which they've done it for the other clubs. So if anyone from Select is watching...
But you don't have any collectors.
Well, there's enough. There's enough in the Saints group to warrant it. And if they don't want it, I'll buy them all.
So that's my whole point.
There's my challenge.
It's pretty much...
There's my challenge to you, Select.
It's pretty much just...
Mr. Copley & Co., if you are listening.
Yeah,
St Kilda 150th set, please. You've heard it here first. If they don't sell out, I'll buy them all.
I don't think that's going to happen. All right. Well, look, I guess we're no real clearer on speculating what will come, but I think we're all aligned and everyone on the stream that it's probably going to be a premium release. But I guess we'll see what happens.
Burgoyne 400 card.
There was a highlight, I believe.
See, again, you would think a Burgoyne 400 card. Do you know what, guys? The reality is, as much as we joke about it, we are aware that the folks from Select, not only do they
watch the show.
Not only do they watch the show, but they're obviously tracking quite closely all the social channels, including Good Vibes and everything else. And the more that we can all talk about and engage about concepts, ideas, and things that can be done, the closer they all become to a reality. Because at the end of the day, the people, the card companies, they get their inspiration from others.
Yeah.
They don't just generate the creativity themselves. So again,
they listen to the market.
And you know, and if that's what something like this podcast brings, if nothing else, but providing insights and inspiration for cards that we'll see in the future, well, it's a massive win for the hobby in itself. So again, whether it's through our podcast or it's across the social media pages or chatter within breaks or whatever it may be, I just really encourage people to let's keep it up. Let's keep the conversation going.
Yeah.
Because the more we can all talk about this, the better off we are as collectors because we will get the things that we ultimately want.
Go on. Say it 3 times in a row. You might get it.
On that note.
No. St Kilda 150th. St Kilda 150th. St Kilda 150th.
Better bloody be a St Kilda 150th.
All right. Thank you, everyone. It's been a good episode of Card Authority, episode 45. Thank you, Jenks. You've been sensational as always. Thank you to all of you guys there that have contributed. The show will be up on YouTube and all clipped during the week. Good man, Thomas Butters, who's been looking after some content for us. He will certainly raise a few of these points for us to talk about this week and continue the discussions, which have been fantastic.
And of course, hit up cardauthority.com.au for all the latest resources, information, and articles about sports trading cards.
Training guides, tips, all that sort of stuff.
All that sort of stuff. It's all on the website. Again, we are ramping up the content. We've got Butters pushing out there hard with all sorts of stuff. If you've got ideas for what you want, make sure you let us know.
Buy, sell, hold. So if you guys haven't caught it yet, he has been doing weekly shows trying to give advice about more on the speculation and the commerce side of things. So if you're looking to make a little bit of money from cards, he's certainly going to try to help you each week on some things to buy, sell, and hold. So you actually check that out at cardauthority.com.au.
And congratulations to Vic Blaze, who has won this week's box of footy cards for the best comment question of the night.
I don't know about these unauthorized giveaways.
All right, guys.
Thank you, Jenks. Thank you, everyone. Be kind to each other, and hopefully we see you in a couple of weeks with maybe a release. You never know. Ciao.